Alright, chapter 6.2, we're continuing with factoring, and now we're learning another method, depending on what type of form we have. It's basically FOIL in reverse. So let's go to chapter review, page 485. Let's look at number 10. And it says, factor completely or state the trinomial is prime. So it has x squared minus 3x plus 2. X squared minus 3x plus 2, and they want me to factor. So again, if you follow the steps, you will be able to factor. It doesn't matter how the polynomial looks. If you follow the steps, you'll be able to factor. So when you're doing your homework, follow the steps. So let's do our steps. So the first thing I want you to do is write out what's A, B, and C. Remember, it's always going to be in the form ax squared plus bx plus c. A is the number in front of the x squared term, b is the number in front of x, and c is the number hanging out alone. So it's 1, negative 3, and 2. Remember, the negative goes with the number. Alright, great. Now let's write out the product and the sum. Remember, the product is always going to be A times C, and the sum is just going to be B. So A times C is 1 times 2, which is 2. One times 2 is 2, and B is negative 3. So the product is 2, and the sum is negative 3. So the first step, second step, and then the third step. Well, the third step is, well, what are the factors of 2? So what are all the factors of 2? Well, I have 1, 2, and negative 1, negative 2. And then the fourth step says, what are the factors of 2 that sum or add to negative 3? So the factors of 2 that add to negative 3. And it would be negative 1 and negative 2. Negative 1, negative 2. And then the fifth step, because the leading coefficient is 1, because this leading coefficient is 1, I'm sorry, my pen keeps messing up. Because this leading coefficient is 1, we can jump right to the answer. And the answer says, well, all you're going to do is write x minus each factor. So it's x minus 1, as well as x minus 2. So I have said that incorrectly. All you do is write x and then whatever the factor is. X minus 1, x minus 2. X minus 1, x minus 2. And that's your final answer. That is factored. Remember, factor means you take a sum or difference and you turn it into a product. Alright, number 13. It says factor completely. So I have x squared minus 6xy plus 8y squared. Okay, so first thing first, notice that the form is always going to be written like this, your answer. And let's go ahead and write out our A, the B, and the C. Well, A is 1, C is still negative 6, B is negative 6, and C is 8. I have x squared as the first piece, so I'm going to have an x and an x. Look back at your last answer. X were the first terms in each group, and it gave me x squared. And then I need a y squared at the very end, which means the last terms in each group is going to be y squared. That will take care of this middle term that says xy. Alright, so for the first thing you're going to do is write your A, B, and C. And if it's in this form, go ahead and start writing your answer and just fill in the variable spots. Alright, and then just work with the numbers. So the product is going to be 1 times C is 1 times 8, which is 8. And the sum is negative 6. So then what are the factors of 8? So the factors of 8, well, we got 1 and 8, 2 and 4, negative 1, negative 8, negative 2, negative 4. Alright, so out of these factors, which ones sum to negative 6 negative 2, and negative 4. Then since my leading coefficient is a 1, I can jump right to my answer, which is ready for me. And it's going to be x minus 2y, x minus 4y. Notice how all I did was fill in the minus 2 and the minus 4, just like I did up here. And the x and the y were already there. Alright, so this problem is interesting only because it is involving two variables. So make sure you're practicing those. Alright, number 14. We have x squared plus 5x minus 9. X squared plus 5x minus 9. Again, let's write out the a, the b, and the c. A is 1, B is 5, C is negative 9. Then I have my product, which is A times C, which is 1 times negative 9, which is negative 9. And my sum, which is 5. And I want the factors of negative 9. And those would be 1, negative 9, 3, negative 3. Okay? Those are all the factors of negative 9. And then I want to find factors of negative 9 that add to positive 5. Well, this guy right here is going to add to negative 8, and this one's going to add to 0. None of them add to 5, so I cannot factor this, and it is considered prime. Okay, that one's considered prime. Alright, last one, number 17. We have 3x to the third power minus 36x squared plus 33x. Alright, so the first thing you want to do is always look at your terms. Do they look like they have something in common? The answer should be yes, and that is your GCF. What do they have in common? Well, I can factor out the 3 as well as an x. Remember, it's the highest factor among the coefficients, which is 3. And the smallest exponent, which is x. So let's rewrite this, and we have 3x, open parentheses, and you should have x squared minus 12x plus 11, and then verify that. Now, you need to factor what is left inside parentheses. So we have the a, the b, and the c. A inside the parentheses is 1, the b is negative 12, and the c is 11. And then you get to write out your factors of negative 12, which include 1, negative 12, negative 1, 12, 2, negative 6, negative 2, 6, 3, negative 4, negative 3, 4. Okay, and then out of all these factors, which ones add up to 11, positive 11, and it would be negative 1, positive 12. And again, since the leading coefficient is 1, I can jump right to my answer, which would be x minus 1, x plus 12. Now do not forget the 3x is outside. And that's your final answer. That is factored, that is factored completely. Alright, that concludes chapter 6.2. Let me know if you have any questions.